welcome to SoCal Prep Report. A big football show today as we look ahead to the final week of the regular season in high school football. We'll also look back at some huge games last week. As always, I'm joined by Tarek of SB Live. Tarek, we're coming down the home stretch.
There are, I know, at least 11. I'm not going to be able to name off the top of my head. At least five or six I can name off the top of my head. However, there are almost a dozen winner-takes-all league championship games this Friday. There's a couple games where the teams have a share of the league already in hand, and maybe the other team can get a share. But a lot of games are win, you're a league champ. Lose, you're in second place. And that's what makes Week 10 so much fun.
Modern Day's not thinking about a league championship, although they're going to win the Trinity League, probably. There's still a chance for Orange Lutheran. But Modern Day's thinking about winning a state title and winning a national championship. And last week they played their arch rivals, St. John Bosco, and this game was over by halftime.
Oh, man.
As the Monarchs were leading 45-0.
It was, I tell you what, it was over in the first, it was over after 16 minutes of football. It was 31-0, and everyone just kind of looking around in the press box like, well, you know, who's going to that's the question is, who can even challenge Modern Day, right? Not who can beat them, who can challenge them, who can put them in a position where they got to really fight for a victory, and that is yet to be done here in 2024.
I was impressed with how Jason Negro handled the loss after the game. He stood there, fielded questions from the media. He's a class act, even in defeat.
Yeah, my colleague Mitch Stevens had an interview. I mean, we're talking like final gun, handshake. I mean, we're talking within 30 seconds of that game finishing. Boom, Jason Negro had cameras in front of his face. Hey, coach, and he took it just like no surprise. Total class. I mean, he even got asked, Mitch Stevens asked him, hey, you know, well into the game, they were still going for two. And Jason Negro goes, that's what they do. We knew they would go for two, and it's our job to stop it, and we didn't. So I just love kind of the above reproach take that, and hey, we got to get better. And did I expect it to be like this? No, but that's okay. Modern Day is that good. And, you know, we do have a couple highlights from the game. Dash Byerly, 4 touchdowns, going to Washington. I mean, what a standout player he is for Modern Day. Has yet to throw an interception this year for the Monarchs and is just super, super efficient. And then they had a pick 6 by Aaron Washington, and he ended up doing flips in the end zone in celebration. Really, really inspiring defensive performance, but no surprise for that Modern Day defense.
And it finished up 59-14. And again, Josh Allen threw an interception this week for the Buffalo Bills. So Dash Byerly's the only one now
quarterback
with
standing.
no picks. He hasn't thrown an interception this year. Byerly doing a phenomenal job at Modern Day his senior year, and he's been very good. He's going to go to Washington.
Good. Yeah, very
All right, the
good.
next game we want to discuss is Orange Lutheran. And this is a football team that has really come on against a brutal schedule. They just did a number on Servite. It's not a surprise that they beat Servite.
Yeah, the score is surprising.
The score, yeah.
Yeah, this was a surprising score for sure. I did not expect this. Servite's still looking for Leo Hannon to return, the Michigan State quarterback, who I'm telling you, I keep saying how impressive he was in warm-ups, but he's just not quite ready to rock, and that's okay. Servite's going to make the playoffs one way or another. We don't know where yet. 1, 2, you know, we'll find that out next weekend, or this coming weekend, actually. But, yeah, 38-0. Something's up there. I don't know if they rested some players or what the case may be, but that was a surprise.
T.J. Lateef threw 3 touchdowns in that game. He's a terrific quarterback for the Lancers. 6-2 to this point against a brutal schedule. That's a credit to that football team. Here's a shocker. I put this one up near the top because I know you wanted to talk about this. Pacifica of Oxnard. Simi came in 8-0 to this game.
Weird score.
28-0 here, too.
Yeah, I mean, on Spaces, I do Twitter Spaces on Friday nights. Basically like a little live radio show we do on Friday nights, and we got like 300 people in there. And that was one score we were all like kind of scratching our heads and just wondering, you know, is there some strategy there by Jim Bankert? You certainly don't want to discredit Pacifica at all. That's not what I'm saying. But when a team's 8-0 and doing well and has some athletes and it's Jim Bankert, you don't just show up to a game and lose 28-0. So might have been the perfect storm. Maybe Pacifica played their best ball and Simi Valley didn't, but yet a scoreless game for Simi Valley is very, very odd.
They are 5-4 Pacifica, so they're not a bad football team. They've won 2 games in a row, but it is a shocking score.
Yeah.
And their quarterback, Dominic Duran, is pretty talented. But again, very shocking score. This one isn't. Mission Viejo over a fairly good Edison team, 49-24, some points there. We love Hines Ward, the running back at Mission Viejo, 114 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, this is a team, and I'm speaking about Mission Viejo, that's destined for at least, I would think, the Division I semifinals, and that's where everyone's thinking, you know, if we have our magic wand or a crystal ball, we say, okay, Mater Dei is going to get to the final. Who is going to potentially knock off St. John Bosco if they happen to get to the semifinals? We don't know. But is it going to be a Mission Viejo or a Corona Centennial? That's the team. These are the teams that everyone keeps thinking about that might make that Division I final. So no surprise that Mission Viejo takes care of business. They're going to win the Alpha League. They're 9-0.
Great rivalry game right in our neck of the woods, right where the studio is. Downey over Warren. They won it fairly handily, 27-7. The quarterback at Downey, Oscar Rios, is very good, and he ran for 2 touchdowns. Ran for 2 scores.
Yeah. Listen, Warren is under a new coaching staff. Obviously, they had a lot of drama this year with Matt and Ian Maleva. You know, just one game, and then drama ensued. They left. Jace Brown left too. Both UCLA commits. They go to Poly. They get denied. They're not even playing football. It's just sour season for Warren. And I believe they only have 2 wins this year. Maybe even only 1. I'm not too sure. I know it's 1 or 2. Downey, on the other hand, rolling. And I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but they got a big showdown in the Gateway League with Mayfair.
We will talk about it. We also got to talk about the Bear coming out of hibernation. Bear Bachmeyer.
Good
Marietta
one.
Valley.
Oh, like that.
57-55 over Vista Murrieta. The Bear throws for 3 touchdowns after coming back from being injured.
What a great debut for Bear Bachmeyer, the Stanford commit. Dorian Hose has been basically, I joked around on Twitter like 3-4 weeks ago, like they're going to build a statue for this kid because without Marietta Valley, without Bear Bachmeyer, it's like, who's going to step up and provide? And it's been Dorian Hose. So this is going to be, they're not going to be a Division I team. This is going to be a Division II team that's probably going to get a top 4 seed, Randy, and probably make a run at that Division II final with Bear Bachmeyer back in the lineup. The only question mark, we talked about this with Eric Paul Johnson of the Riverside Press Enterprise, man, you can't let up 55 points just willy-nilly in the playoffs. There's going to be some better defenses. So they got to shore up the defense, but the offense, not going to be a problem in the postseason.
Not a problem for the offense at Corona Centennial. They hang 60 on Norco. Win the game handily, 60-21. What a game for the receiver, Corey Butler. Touchdowns of 55 and 66 yards. But the headline here is Coach Matt Logan, 293 wins. He becomes the winningest coach in Inland Empire history.
Yeah, Matt Logan is pretty much like a future Hall of Famer. I mean, he probably, you know, he is one basically, just not official. But we're talking about one of the great high school football coaches in the country, certainly in Southern California, and just a great dude.
He is humble.
He answers phone calls. He gives time. I mean, he's just such a nice man. And if I'm a parent and I have a young son, someone like Matt Logan is who I would want my young person to be around. And it's no wonder why they have such a great football program.
Lost 2 early season games to 2 powerhouses, but I really believe Corona Centennial is very dangerous in the playoffs. Wouldn't be shocked if they get all the way to the finals. All right, here's the SB Live CIF Southern Section Top 10. No surprise with Mater Dei, Mission Viejo. You dropped St. John Bosco just 1 spot.
Yeah, you know, I kind of felt like didn't want to drop them too much for playing the juggernaut, right? However, you gotta give Mission Viejo a little love for being 9-0, and then, you know, Corona Centennial on a 7-game winning streak, as you alluded to, lost the first 2 and then have won 7 in a row. Hassan Longstreet healthy, playing like the 5-star quarterback we know him to be. Servite drops down to 10. You know, Oaks Christian, I don't know where they're going to end up. This is going to be an interesting, what the playoffs end up being. 8 teams, 10 teams. Could we see Oaks Christian back in the Division I playoffs? I don't know. Cal Preps has them a little bit lower, but the big game coming up this week, one of many, is Sierra Canyon, Sarah Gardena. So that could shift the final rankings a little bit.
Some key flag football games in the Southern Section in the first round. We had Orange Lutheran, who is the #1 team. They won handily over Roosevelt of Eastvale. This is not a surprise.
Yeah, no surprise at all. McKenna Cook. I mean, that's all you have to say.
She was cooking.
Yeah, she just. I saw a highlight from her game. I mean, the way her mechanics, the way she really, I mean, everything, the leverage, the throw, the spiral. I mean, the way it folds in the air. I mean, she's fantastic.
This was a surprise. Canyon of Anaheim knocked off Jay Serra, one of the top seeds. But again, this is the first year of playoffs in the Southern section, so maybe it really isn't a surprise because Canyon Anaheim has a good flag football program.
Right, I think that Division I field, that was a Division I game, right? Yeah, I think that Division I field, for the most part, anyone can beat anybody, so it's not so much of a surprise, but you raise a good point. It's the first time being in the playoffs, and we talked to Rob Schock last week. It's like, are coaches trying to get film? How much are they preparing? Or is it more so just, hey, we need to worry about what we're doing, and then we go out there and try and execute a game plan and win the game? Very, very curious how these play, because these games are fast. I think they're only 40 minutes.
They are, and they're fun. Key scores from the LA City section football. We're talking tackle football. East LA Classic. Good football game. 38-28. This game was played at SoFi Stadium. Some 16,000 were there. Cesar Reyes rushing for a couple touchdowns. You know, he's run for 20 on the year and has 1,404 yards for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, you know, he'll be an all-city selection for sure, you know. And Garfield's one of those teams, kind of when we're looking at the Southern section rankings, Garfield's on the fringe. I don't think they're going to make the Open, but they're going to be them and Kennedy, maybe a Dorsey, depending on where Dorsey lines up in the Open. Those are teams that could end up down in Division I and making a really, really good run. And if two of those four teams make it, we're going to have a really good Division I final in the city section.
Can I disagree with you?
Sure.
I think Garfield will be in the Open Division.
Okay.
7 or 8. That's where I think they'll end up being
Okay.
placed. Let's check out another big one. This one was in the Marine League. Carson could end up being the number 1 seed. They beat Banning 45-35, high-scoring game. Banning struggling a little bit in that league, which is the best in the city.
Winless in that league, though I still think they're going to make the Open.
I do too.
That's one. Oh my God, we agree. No, the other thing too, I'll say, and may I disagree with you? Narbonne is probably going to end up being the number 1 seed because of the forfeits. The city section can look at the Cal Preps rankings, and there are some things they can manipulate that they feel are appropriate given those forfeits. Now, what's a real shame, Randy, if you don't mind me saying, Carson should be playing Narbonne this week for the Marine League winner-takes-all championship. And
the number 1 seed.
There you go. Fair enough. So what a shame that these kids don't even get to play this game. You know, we've talked about this boycott before, and if you don't know anything about it, basically the Marine League teams aren't playing Narbonne. They think they're cheating. So Narbonne hasn't played a football game since September 27th. There should be a fun game at Narbonne this Friday night against Carson, and it's not even happening. So don't you think that's a shame?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Carson's quarterback is tremendous, too. Chris Fields, in the Banning game, he threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2, and it'd be nice to see him play Narbonne. You're right. I don't disagree. Here's another one that was interesting in the Northern League, and it won the Northern League title for Eagle Rock over Franklin. We both thought Eagle Rock had the slight edge there. It was a terrific game.
Yeah, that looks like a great game on the scoreboard. Andy Moran, I mean, honestly, one of my favorites. I like watching his teams play. I don't get to see Eagle Rock every year, unfortunately, because I'm usually at Southern Section games. However, when I do see Eagle Rock play, I know I'm going to get a disciplined team, a tough team. I'm a 35 defensively. Usually Eagle Rock's a little more short up than that. But hey, I know that they like to throw the ball, so I'm not surprised to see the 42 points.
Yeah, and Franklin likes to throw the ball too, and I'm not surprised they got 35. That game went like we thought it would be. Good football game, close, high scoring. All right, how about Dorsey? This was a big win for the Dons.
Yes.
In the Coliseum League over King Drew, which has got a pretty good club. Dorsey wins it 20-14, and now they look like an Open Division team.
I am a believer now of the Dons. I thought this was a little bit of a litmus test for them, and they got over it, and they won a tough game 2014. So in my city section rankings, I got them at 8 now. I didn't really have them in the mix much because I just felt like the competition wasn't very good, Randy. But, hey, good for Dorsey. I believe they're 7-2 going into this final week. They could end up being 8-2, and like I alluded to earlier, could they get into the Open? I don't know. You know, we'll see. And if they go down to Division I, which I believe is probably the better level for them, competitive equity speaking, I think that's a better division for them. I don't know if the Open's suited for them.
In the West Valley, we all know Birmingham is the best team. So there was a battle for second place. We happen to have the game on LA 36. Cleveland of Reseda hosting El Camino Real. Really a pretty good game. Look at the score. Cleveland eked out a 21-20 victory. And this game came down to the final moments when Ruben Lopez was able to pick off the Acevedo pass. Right there, that preserved the victory and won the football game for this team from Cleveland High School, the Cavaliers. You can see Ruben's excited, and thus a 21-20 victory.
You've watched El Camino football all year long, Randy. I actually want to ask you the improvement they've made throughout this year. Cleveland's always a decent team, and they're always the tough out in the West Valley League. Despite Cleveland getting the win, if you would have told me that that El Camino Real would have played them to a 1-point game earlier this year, I wouldn't have believed you, and they ended up doing so.
And they could have, maybe should have won the football game. They had the late pick. They were stopped at the 1-yard line. They made some mistakes. I think the more intriguing thing is what they do this week. They're playing Chatsworth. They should win the game, but they're better off losing it because they'll drop down a bracket. Right now, they're number 1 in Division II. If they beat Chatsworth, they'll probably go to D1, and they're going to get knocked out of the playoffs. If they lose to Chatsworth, they'll drop in Division II and might be the favorite in the division. So it's kind of a quandary the way the playoffs work.
Yeah, I find it odd to even think in those spaces, though very, very valid. Not saying anything you're saying is wrong, but I think any coach, their DNA, their blood would boil to think that they would, basically toss a game to drop so that you have a better chance of winning a Division II lower division championship. If that's where they end up, fine, but I would think they're going to go out there and try and win that game on Friday. And if they go to Division I, that's a coup to the program too, because they're usually in Division II. So going up and having a good year and getting up to Division I, that's a feather in your cap. Now, will they run into a juggernaut probably better than them in Division I and maybe bow out of the first or second round? Yeah, probably, but at least you can say you got to a higher division.
Yeah, I'm not saying Jason Zabog.
Right.
But to answer the initial question, they're mightily improved in the lines on
Yes.
both sides of the line of scrimmage, from game 1 against Kennedy to what we saw against Cleveland. 2 different football teams. All right, let's check out the Max Preps top 10 in the Los Angeles City section. They do have Carson elevated to 1. Narbonne, San Pedro, Gardena, and Banning, all 5 from the Marine League. Birmingham, the 4-time champions. I noticed Jim Rose this week, the coach of Birmingham, said, I don't really care about where we're ranked.
Right.
They're very confident they can win it.
Yeah,
Garfield, Dorsey, Kennedy, Eagle Rock.
Yeah, so for example, what I do know the city section has the power to do, for example, so the city section can actually, if they see the rankings in Cal Preps and there is a head-to-head matchup where the winner is below, the winner is below the Cal Prep ranking, they actually have the power to switch that. So for example, Narbonne is going to have a forfeit win over Carson. Now, I know these aren't Cal Preps, but let's just say, for example, Cal Preps has Carson higher than Narbonne. They'll take those seedings, but because Narbonne has the forfeit victory, the city section has the power, sounds for lack of a better term, to go, hey, wait a minute, we have a head-to-head victory. We can switch those teams. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. They're not going to reward another Marine League team a high seed after forfeiting against Narbonne. So I find it hard to believe that that's going to happen. That's I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm thinking that's likely to happen.
We shall see.
Yes, we shall.
It'll be interesting. Again, the pairings will come out this weekend. So
Saturday around 3 o'clock.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon. Are you going to do a show about all these?
No,
pairings?
not city section. Southern section,
no,
though.
do you have a southern section?
Southern section. That's Sunday morning, 10 a.m.
Okay, I knew you had a show.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Well, we'll get it in early.
Okay.
All right, top performances from last week. We had a few of them. In the city, a young man from L.A., Jordan, David Sandy, put up an incredible number. Look at that. 333 yards, 4 touchdowns in a win over Rancho Dominguez.
Yeah, I believe he was a city player of the year in Division II last year, if not for sure an all-city selection. Not surprising here. He's capable of doing just about everything. I think, he's kind of like an Arliss Boardingham a couple years ago for Birmingham. He punts, he kicks, he throws, he runs. The guy gets water, towel boy, he does everything. So not surprising, David Sandy, another great performance.
Yeah, same for Diego Montez. He's the same way. Look at these numbers. 225 yards passing and 1 TD, and they ran 4 touchdowns. And so he was accounted for 5 of them. I mean, he was just incredible. Trent Mosley, the Santa Margarita wide receiver, 13 receptions, a touchdown, ran for 2 scores in the loss to JCR. So he caught 1 and ran 2 in.
Yeah, and I think that was his first game back in maybe 2 or 3 games out due to injury. Glad to see he's back on the field. Only a junior and one of the most coveted wideouts in the country is Trent Mosley.
Alex Kiernan of Trabuco Hills, 6 receptions, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on defense in the victory over Cyprus. And Draydon Fowles of Birmingham, 3 rushing touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the win over Taft. Great performances by both these guys on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, again, and I've said this before, at this point in the year, these big league games, they ask of big performances from players. And when you have big performances like that help you win late in the year, it goes a long way.
Some key games coming up Friday night. Let's start with Mater Dei, Orange Lutheran. You know, Olu's had a great year. We all know what Mater Dei is all about. Tarek, does Olu have a chance against the Monarchs?
A chance. Yeah, sure. Puncher's chance. To win? I don't think so. To make it close or to challenge them? Sure. And listen, Mater Dei already has a share of the league title. That's it. They've got it shored up. So this could just be an opportunity for Orange Lutheran to grab a share of the Trinity League title, though I don't see it happening.
Another one in the Trinity League, J. Sarah and St. John Bosco. How does Bosco respond to losing?
That's going to be the great question. I'm sure J. Sarah's like, great, we got like basically a pissed off St. John Bosco that's going to play us in week 10. And, you know, that's where things get interesting because we've talked about how we don't think, at least I don't, and I wrote about this earlier this week, 6 of the last 8 years, Bosco and Mater Dei have played twice. I don't think that's going to happen this year because I think St. John Bosco is young and more susceptible to a loss. Could we see that young susceptibility come to fruition before the postseason, maybe against J. Sarah this coming week? We'll find out.
How about this one? The Delta League titles at stake. Tustin, 7-2, playing a very good Capo Valley team who is yet to lose.
Yeah, Capo Valley, I just put recently in my top 25 rankings. I think they've deserved it. They played a really, really good El Medina team this past week and won. So what a fun opportunity for both programs. Tustin, a team up on the rise. Remember, Deshaun Foster went to Tustin, was really good. So Tustin's had, in their history, they've had some really good programs. They're kind of back, per se, not maybe at that level, but what a great opportunity for both programs and all the players involved. Winner takes all for that Delta League championship.
How about in the Marmoni League? I said it recently, didn't I? We'll see how a team responds. We said that about St. John Bosco. How will Simi Valley respond in the game you thought a week ago might be the game of the night? Loses a little of luster with the Pacifica loss for Simi Valley. But it's still a good game.
That's the word for it. Yeah, it lost its luster. I'll tell you what, if Simi Valley would have taken care of business against the Pacifica, that's probably where I would have been on Friday night because it would have been a winner-takes-all. Bankert back at Oaks Christian where he used to coach and he won a Division II title. And, oh, man, there's so many cool, fun storylines there. I'm almost wondering if Simi Valley, I'm not saying they did this on purpose, but to your El Camino Real kind of scenario, Simi Valley 8-0, 10-0 maybe puts them in a division they don't really want to be in. So 8-2 maybe puts them somewhere where they belong. You know, it's kind of interesting how the competitive equity works. But Simi Valley, I don't think will be mad either way with the way their season's going.
You know, Los Alamitos doesn't have a bad football team, but they got to play at Mission Viejo. Will Mission Viejo be thinking about the playoffs, looking ahead, or will they dominate Los Al?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Could be like a little bit of a trap game, right? Everyone's talking about Mission Viejo, especially after St. John Bosco's loss. Kind of funny, right? So St. John Bosco gets thumped. Now everyone's saying, oh, St. John Bosco is vulnerable. Who's going to be the team that beats them? Could it be a Mission Viejo? So you got to, if you're Coach Chad Johnson, you got to keep this team focused. Finish the job, finish the task at hand. Los Alamitos is not what they used to be. They used to somewhat be a juggernaut last couple. Remember Malachi Nelson and so on, and so on and so forth. So I think they'll be just fine.
Angeles League has its championship showdown as well.
Yeah.
Cathedral and St. Paul should be a good football game. Obviously, the league championships at stake. Cathedral a slight favorite.
Yeah, I would give the edge to Cathedral. I saw St. Paul in person actually earlier this year. They played Bishop Ammon and beat them. That was a big rivalry game. The thing with St. Paul. Very disciplined, physical, not a lot of athletes, not a lot of speed. Cathedral, a lot of athletes, a lot of speed. And it's not like they're small or anything. They got guys up front too. So I think overall Cathedral is the better team. But you never know. The game's on the road. It's at St. Paul, Santa Fe Springs, which isn't too far from where we are now. In fact, we are in Santa Fe Springs, so maybe St. Paul can pull off a game at home.
How about the Gateway League Championship? It's at stake. Both these teams are undefeated in the league. Mayfair 7-2 overall, 8-1 is Downey. Downey's the favorite again, playing at home, but Mayfair's got a boxer's chance.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this is a league game. The teams know each other. Both coaches have been around for a while. And so when you get familiarity, anything can happen. As they say, like an SC-UCLA rivalry, right? We've seen SCB really, really good, and here comes UCLA, and they knock them off. So this could happen. You know, I don't see it happening, but it's very possible. I'll tell you what, you get to Oscar Rios, maybe you rattle him a little bit. Maybe Mayfair gets a chance. The Monsoons.
The Monsoons, I like that. The monsoon.
Correct.
We don't have monsoons, but we have a monsoon football team. Probably the game of the night is in the Mission.
Yes, it is.
Sierra Canyon 6-3, although they're better than their record. So is Sarah Gardena. This is just a tremendous game. I like Wyatt Becker, the quarterback at Sierra Canyon, but I think Sarah at home's got a great chance.
Yeah, no, it's I wouldn't call it a toss-up. I think Sierra Canyon's probably, favored, I think it's fair to say. And let's not forget, Sierra Canyon's 3 losses, J. Sarah, Orange Lutheran, and St. John Bosco. It's not like they lost to a team down the road. So very, very good team, much improved. And they've pretty much glided through the Mission League, where Sarah has kind of had to scratch and claw.
But CJ's a great player for them.
Oh, CJ McBean, I wrote about him earlier this year. The Sarah secondary is, Rod Sherman at Orange Lutheran actually said he thinks they're the best combo in the state, all 4 of them. So what I was going to say is I think Sarah is probably like a little more worn down going into this game because their unbeaten campaign through the league has been more strenuous than what Sierra Canyon has had to do.
A couple great games in the city section in the Marine League. Gardena at San Pedro. Who do you like?
Ooh, wow, man, that's a toss-up. You know what? Give me Gardena.
I've been on Gardena's bandwagon all year. I'm going with San Pedro.
Oh, wow.
I'm going off the bandwagon.
Okay.
Westchester at Venice. Venice has been a surprise in the Western League. They knocked off Palisades. Westchester's only loss is to Pally.
I wonder if Westchester gets this victory here, because I think Venice, I don't know. I feel like Venice maybe had reached its plateau already when they beat Palisades, and it's just going to be a hard game to get up for. Give me Westchester in that game to really rattle things up in that Western League.
That's one game I don't know who to pick. I think that one could go really either way. You said who?
Westchester.
I'll go with Venice since they're playing at home.
Okay.
All right, and a shout out for Brady Smigel, Tarek's favorite player from Newbury Park. What a year. He surpasses 10,000 yards. That's career. But now he's number 1 all-time in Ventura County. You can see the numbers. His team is undefeated. He has 34 touchdowns this season. But it's that lower number, the 2 picks. He's a different football player. He's protecting the football better than he ever has, and he's only a junior.
Only a junior, committed to Florida State. Every time I talk to him, I'm more impressed. He's just a great young man. Dad's cool. The brother, he's got a twin brother. That's also, they're just down-to-earth kids and really fun to cover. I feel like he's been in high school for forever because he's been so good since his freshman year. Newbury Park, I think, is perfect for the Division III playoffs. I think it's likely they end up going up into Division II. And I don't know how long their Division II playoff life will last, but maybe they're good for a game or 2.
Yeah, but he's got his buddy with him, too, Shane Rosenthal, who is the all-time leader in receptions and touchdowns in Ventura County. So that's quite a combination. I think Newbury Park has the ability to score on anyone. I think they're dangerous.
Yeah, the defense is very, very underrated. The league is not that great, so you're kind of wondering how good they could possibly be. Hey, they beat Milliken earlier in the year. Milliken ended up winning the Moore League title for the first time since 1973. Richard Nixon was in office. They beat Long Beach Poly. A little down, but still worth mentioning. So they've got some victories earlier in the year that make you feel like, hey, this is a good football team. But last ad. When these teams that play really well, Randy, they get up to the Division II or a division higher than them, it's not so much about playing one Division II team. It's about having to play them week after week. Can you deal with the rigors of the week-to-week level? That I don't know Newbury Park can do.
Where are you going this week?
Don't know yet. Probably Sierra Canyon Sarah. I'm on the fence. I'm not 100% sure, but that's probably the game of the night on Friday night.
And who do you like in the game? You said Sarah.
Sierra Canyon. I like Sierra Canyon. I like Sierra Canyon to win that game.
Have you warmed up your arm?
Why?
Show's over.
Oh.
Don't you always toss the
yeah.
papers?
You're right. Gosh,
He does this every week.
I almost
He
forgot.
throws the papers. We know that. That's
I'm gonna get a
wrap
good
up the
fold.
show.
I'm gonna get a good fold going and see if I can hit the camera.
Okay, there he is. Okay, how about your wind-up?
No wind up.
Walker
It's gonna be more
Buehler
like
right here.
it's
Here
gonna
we
be more
go.
Like a disc toss.
That's it for SoCal Prep Report. We'll be back next week right here on LA 36, and we'll see more of Tarek's spectacular arm. Let's see the throw. Go for it.
No, that's the closest I've been. That game will